Degloirespace signing in. It can happen in life where you're putting in so much effort to obtain something and it's taken forever to get it. It's taken forever to make the achievement. Yet somebody else barely moves and they acquire what you're after. And of course it's frustrating because you start thinking, hey, how come I have to put in so much and this person's getting it so easily? And this could range from anything, whether it's money you're after, whether it's a status, a skill, whether it's relationships. So how do we tackle something like that when we're starting to feel that way? It can really drag us down and make us feel demotivated and uninspired and close to quitting, even though we have put in so much. Firstly, don't assume the world is fair. That is the first thing. And when I say fair here, I mean human being idea of fair. I put in 10%, he put in 10%, we should both get back 10%. That's a mathematical fairness that we learn. But life doesn't work like that. And that could be one of the worst ideas to have, because if you think about it, look at life. When we're born to different societies, we're born to different abilities, we're born with different positives, different negatives. Some people get a head start when it comes to the world and achievement and such, while others, man, we're behind. So you can clearly see from the get-go that the system is not fair mathematically. And here I would just go back to the basics and say, hey, the idea of fairness that people gave me that's what's wrong. It's not that there's something wrong with the world. You put these ideas in my head and told me that's the way the world should work. I look around, it doesn't work like that. And then I get frustrated. You've taught me something and what I'm seeing is not that. So the problem isn't with what I'm seeing, the problem is what I've been taught. And this is why we need to question what we've been taught. Maybe we have been taught wrong. Maybe we have been given a perception that is not true, that's going to put us back. So firstly, the idea of fairness, go with that. Secondly, timing. We all have different timing in life. And I like to give the idea of good old Colonel from KFC. He was a much older man when he made the big leap forward financially. Leslie Nielsen, he'd been acting for years, and it wasn't until he was an older man that he actually became acclaimed. There's a timing. Once again, that timing links with fairness. Some actors, they begin their careers quickly. They're kids and they become super famous, and then later on, nobody knows who they are. That idea of what's fair and what works and all that, there is no rule for it. And you have to apply all of this to yourself. Thirdly, comparison. Once you know about fairness, once you know about timing, we jump onto comparison. You can't compare. You cannot compare. The moment you compare, you're down. You don't know what's going to happen to this person that you're comparing yourself to that's so successful and achieved everything. You don't know if they're going to fail after 2 weeks. You don't know that. You don't know what they've had to achieve what they've had. You don't know the background information. There's so many missing pieces that comparing is almost guaranteed to make you feel low about yourself. So what to do? You can't be doing something with your eyes peering at somebody else. If you don't enjoy what you're doing and you find that, hey, I would rather be doing this, then that answers you why you're not finding success. Just enjoy it. There are painters and artists who work all their lives and never see success in their lifetime. A lot of the insecurities to not achieving comes from the crap that's filling our minds. Not all of it, of course, because some of it is survival. But there's a lot of crap that fills our minds that tell us how your life ought to be. The media puts in our brains a bunch of things that we need to be and we need to achieve. And that can make us frustrated because you forget about life and you focus about the world. And life and the world are two very different things. The world is a construct based on era and based on the society that's leading. Like right now in the world, no doubt, we have the American Christian model. That's the kind of media that we see mostly, that resonates with most of us, that we grow up comparing to. In the past, there's been other models. Each model will bring with it something that serves you and something that doesn't serve you. Back in the day when the French model for romance was the leading, you could write a poem to somebody and that'll get you far. Now that doesn't really work anymore. And it's not because the method is right or wrong, it's because what society is telling you. You're trying to balance between the worldly things. And there's a reason why in a lot of the spiritual texts, they always would warn you against the world. It's not that you're not meant to live in the world. You're meant to understand that this world feeds you illusions, feeds you standards that cannot be met. The standards that society set can only be met by a handful of people. And it's not because they're the best, it's because this is the era for that kind of standard to be met. Go to another era, go back to the 80s, go back to the 70s, and what standards you have now will not succeed. If you were a bodybuilder in the 70s or 60s, you were not really considered that desirable. Your goals, what you wanted to become, were very different. You go back to the 18th century, being an actor was not an acclaimed thing. No one really cared about that. There were other jobs that were seen as better. So you need to understand that one of the reasons you're frustrated is you're comparing yourself to a standard that might not be the standard that you are. And when you can see that, it will lessen your frustrations. You'll be able to say like, all right, cool. This is the standard that they're offering me. I don't really agree with that standard. And there's nothing wrong with not agreeing with the world standard. Some of you come from different cultures, and in your cultures, success or what you should achieve looks very different. In some cultures, if you're a woman and you have a career, people look at you like, what are you doing? In the culture that I would raise my children in, I would like my daughter to have a career. Now, there is another thing. As you are going through these standards, we're all psychologically wired differently. So you might need to break through things that I don't need to break through. And that's why I said to you, do not compare. Because there are issues in my life that I required years, 20, 30 years to get past, while somebody else, by the time they were 20, they had gotten over them. And I'm actually telling you something from experience. And there are things the opposite way. So your achievement, the thing that you want to achieve, might be linked to one of those things. You might be somebody who, yeah, I need to get from A to B, but to go to B, I have so many hurdles that I need to get over. Whereas somebody else needs to go from A to B, they don't have those hurdles that you have, psychologically speaking, of course, here. You comparing, you're only going to set yourself back. You got better things to deal with than comparing to that person. You need to focus on what it is you need. What are your hurdles? Those things you need to take care of, because if you don't remove those hurdles, you ain't moving an inch forward. So the next time you feel like you're failing at something or it's taking too long, ask yourself, do you really want this thing? Ask yourself, are you gonna give up? Are you gonna quit? Because quitting is a sign of somewhere along the line, you don't really want it. You got it from somewhere else. And I'll give an exception to that. Sometimes you give up momentarily and you get back to it later on in life. There are people who had a passion when they were kids, then as they were going about their life, they lost sense of that passion. It stayed in them, but because of all the noise outside and you kind of like went off your path. And then later in life, you rediscover it and you rekindle that. So that is another option, but if possible, try not to let that happen. Keep your passions alive, as they will give you quality to your life. Stay genuine to your cause. And just remember, the version of success you're going to gain is going to be different to the version that someone else gets. Degloirespace signing out.